Welcome to another Thursday live video. I am Andrea Owen. I run the joint over here at Your Kick-Ass Life, and I am also the author of this book, 52 Ways to Live a Kick-Ass Life, where I'm coming at you most Thursdays. I know summer, I was a little inconsistent with coming to you with these videos, but I'm hoping now that school has started, it's fall, that I'm going to be here every Thursday at noon Eastern time, going through a chapter of my book and giving you tidbits on really how to live your own kick-ass life. So who's ready? If you are here live with us, I can see there's a few of you. If you want to drop in your favorite emoji, Rebecca Bowman is here. Rebecca Bowman is here every week. Thank you, Rebecca, for being here every week. And if you are even watching the replay, go ahead and pop your favorite emoji in there. Mine varies from week to week. I think right now I've been on a kick, like the face with just like the slant smile. Yours is the smiley face, Rebecca? Yeah, I just like this, the one where it's like this. That's my favorite emoji this week. So I'm curious to know what yours is. And I'm also very excited that we're on chapter 21 this week because my favorite topic, I have a lot of favorite topics. I say that a lot. But the thing I should say that I have been talking the most about over the last 7 years now that I've been running Your Kick-Ass Life is this whole concept of the inner critic, the negative self-talk that you have, that chatter in your head that essentially makes you feel terrible about yourself. So I started this particular chapter with the following couple of sentences. You have one, I have one, Oprah has one. We all have an inner critic. It's that voice in our heads that tells us various statements about the way we look, about how we measure up to everyone else, about what we're capable or not capable of doing, and so on. Your inner critic can vary. Your inner critic can be a dialogue that you hear in your mind where it's actual words and articulation of things. I'm not pretty enough to do that. I'm not promoted enough to speak up in this meeting. I don't make enough money to start dating again or whatever. For some people, it's just an overall feeling of not feeling good enough. And that is their inner critic at work as well. For some people, their inner critic can be sort of their baseline of how they hear it all the time, of how they constantly feel like they don't measure up, constantly feel like they're failing at life or at everything. And for some people, it just kind of swims in every once in a while. Maybe you're really confident at work, but your inner critic has a lot to say around relationships. Maybe your relationship is going great, but your finances are kind of a mess. So your inner critic has a lot to say about how you deal with money. So it depends on the area of your life where that voice can get loud or sometimes bully you or just generally make you feel, right? Okay, that's what this chapter is all about. And in this particular chapter, I make a couple of points, and one of them is that I emphasize that this is a part of you, and I get a lot of people who come to me and I ask them what their goals are in personal development, and they're like, I want to get rid of this inner dialogue that I have. I want to get rid of my inner critic. I want to just tell it to shut up and be done with it. And I'm like, I don't know if that's humanly possible. Even the most evolved spiritual people that I know who have been working on themselves for decades still every once in a while hear that voice in their minds. The really good news is, everybody, is that it can be managed, is that you can hear it quickly and decide what you want to do with it from there. So that's what we are going to talk to you about today. And I just had some trail mix before I started this video, so that's why I'm like, do I have peanuts in my teeth? I don't know. And all right, so first thing is that it's a part of you. It cannot be eradicated. So my worry is that when people start doing this work and they start working on their inner critic and they're like, yeah, it happened this afternoon and I heard my inner critic and I bypassed it and I did it anyway. And then the next day they fall back into the rabbit hole of their inner critic and they're like, wait a minute, I thought that I'd been working on this and it's back. So forget it. I'm done. There's no hope for me. It can work for someone else, but not me. That's my worry. And my hope and my emphasis is that you know that it can be something that you kind of turn the volume down. So have that be your goal and have that be your win that you can do. So meanwhile, if you have questions during this video as I'm talking about this topic, pop them in the comments section and I'm happy to answer them at the very end. One of the things that and this is actually one of the very first tools that when I'm taking someone through this work, and I would love for you to answer in the comments, is what is your inner critic the hardest on you about? What is, whether you want to tell us exactly what it says to you, whether you want to tell us what the topic of your life, the area of your life it is it finances? I know for women, typically, their number one inner critic trigger is body and appearance. That is very, very common for women. For men, it's typically around money and how much of it they have, where they are. It's sort of like for them in our culture, it's the level of masculinity that you have is how much money you make and status and things like that. So their inner critic can tend to look a little bit different, but we all have them. And I'm curious what yours are. For me, it sort of varies. For me, it's whenever I kind of like reach a new level in, I have a new book coming out in January. So already my inner critic is like, I feel like my inner critic is like warming up, like on the sidelines, like getting ready, like, oh, okay. You got yourself a new book. Let's see what you got. And all the old stuff comes out to play. The book isn't good enough. What if it doesn't sell? Well, it's not, a New York Times bestseller, et cetera, et cetera. So personally, I'm prepared. Like I already know, like I see you on the sidelines. I see you warming up over there and I know what's coming. So that's part of this whole inner critic managing that I am talking about. So Rebecca says, my inner critic is on the worthy trip. She says, you are not worthy of this or that. Yes, yes, yes. And Rebecca, since I know you personally, I know that you do a lot of this work already. And so that language that you're using, the worthiness piece, some people might not really know what that actually is. And so if I may, what it might sound like for someone else is you're not good enough for that. Like, who do you think you are? You're not good enough to be rich or to even like have your finances together. You're not good enough to live in that neighborhood or to drive that car or to start your own business or to start dating again, et cetera, et cetera. So that's what that kind of can mean for other people. All right. So, and forgive me all, I can go off on a tangent about this topic because I get really excited and I want to give you all the tools. So forgive me if I projectile vomit all the tools. I won't do that today. I want to just kind of give you something digestible that you can take with you, whether you're at work today or whether you're at home or whatever you're doing. And I think that, as you start to let me know what it is that your inner critic gets on you the most for, the thing that I want to tell you is I give a different tool in the book, and I think I want to give you a different one for today's video. And that is, I want you to start to notice it. And this is one of those things where I gotta be brutally honest. Like it might get better it might get worse before it gets better. That happens sometimes in various things in life. And I think that this is one of them, because what I ask of people is to take inventory of what is going on with their inner critic. Take inventory of what's going on in your head. Another way to do this is to take inventory of what's coming out of your mouth, because what's coming out of your mouth is probably what's going on in your head. Are you being anywhere from self-deprecating? And I've been guilty of that too. But are you being, self-deprecating or full on, talking crap about yourself to other people? When you are, I know women tend to bond in public bathrooms over, whose thighs are the biggest or who's gained the most weight this winter, et cetera, et cetera. Are you saying that out loud? Are you colluding with your friends and your girlfriends about things like that? Are you participating in conversations and encouraging conversations where you talk about how crappy things are or how crappy you are or what a terrible job you did on this and that and the other? There's one thing to complain and vent consciously, but it's a whole other thing when your baseline is like that. So I invite you to take inventory of that. Just notice when you're doing it, and when you're colluding with people, when you are basically talking shit about yourself. Are you doing that on a fairly regular basis? Because that is an indicator of what is going on in your mind. And for most of the women that come into my community, they know that they are too hard on themselves. It's not like, surprise. Oh, I am hard on myself. Usually they know. And what I invite you to do in this whole becoming aware and taking inventory is to break down the areas of your life. And so even for you, Rebecca, I know that you have done this work. And so Melissa, you said aging is difficult for me. So that's what I would invite you to do. So on the topic of aging, what is it exactly that your inner critic says about you? You know, is it that you are, I don't know what your circumstances are, but you are too old to do such and such? Or is it just a straight up and down, you see a picture of yourself and you're like, where did those crow's feet come from? And Melissa, I hear ya. I've struggled with aging too. I've talked about it on my podcast before. And it's good to just know that you're doing it and get it out there on paper, because a lot of times when we write it down, it loses its power. That's one thing that can happen for some people. It doesn't happen for all people. Another thing that it just allows you to take inventory of what is actually going on, because for a lot of people, and if you've ever taken my 7-day challenge around this topic, you know this, that it astounds you how awful you speak to yourself. And it also can astound you when you find out that everybody's doing it and that we're all walking around a lot of times feeling insecure about some area of our life, whether it's our whole life, whether it's our finances or relationships or friendships or work or body appearance, whatever. So that's what I invite you to do. Take inventory of it. And, you know, that's sort of the painful part. It's like ripping the Band-Aid off and like sticking your finger in it. So I'm not going to leave you with that. That would be mean. I'm like, okay, bye. Have a good rest of your Thursday. But there's a couple of things you can do from there. One of those things, and this is actually a tool from the book, is to ask yourself, is this true? And for instance, if your inner critic tells you, I am so bad with finances, there's no way I'm ever going to get out of debt and be able to buy a house. So that's something, you know, you write that down that your inner critic tells you. Is that really true? Do you know with an absolute, like without a doubt, that there is no way that you can get out of debt and that there's no way that you could buy a house? You know, maybe it's like, I'll never ever lose this weight. Do you know without a fact that you will never, ever lose that weight? So it's things like that, just asking questions, because these are how our beliefs are created, by our inner critic. Oh, my dog is behind my desk and she's going to pull my lamp down. Our beliefs are created by our inner critic. And so if you can sort of like cut it off at that point of these thoughts that we have, then you are more likely to change your core beliefs, which then in turn changes the way you feel. So again, get it out on paper. Ask yourself, is this really true? Is this thing that I am telling myself, that my inner critic is telling me, is it actually true? Or is it kind of a made up story that we don't really know what the outcome is going to be? And then the next thing is, you know, one of my favorite things is just to notice and try your hardest to be compassionate with yourself. And what does that actually look like for you? You know, maybe it is telling yourself something like, I'm actually trying my hardest to get out of debt. And I have put into plans some things to get out of debt. And, you know, if you haven't, I'm not asking you to lie to yourself. Don't do that. But maybe you have made some strides to change your current situation, and it feels impossible and like you're buried under it, but you are actually taking steps to change the situation. Or if it is about losing weight, maybe you're trying something new in order to get to that place of feeling good about yourself, whatever it is. So self-compassion is can be kind of a big can of worms to uncover, one that I wish I could wrap up in a pretty bow for you in under 10 minutes. Self-compassion is a lifelong process, but one that is essential for you feeling better about yourself, for you having self-confidence, for you having better relationships. It's amazing how much self-compassion, is so much more than about you. Self-compassion is also about other people, because the more compassionate you are with yourself, the more compassionate you are with other people, the less likely you are to be so quick to judge other people. And the world is just a better place. I believe it. And I know so many people who have gone the route of self-compassion and focus on it on a regular basis feel the same way too. So Inner Critic, chapter 21 in my book. And if you do nothing else in this world, I truly hope that you take inventory of what your inner critic is saying to you and work on learning to manage it. Not work on getting rid of it completely, because that will be an impossible task and you will get frustrated and end up possibly feeling worse about yourself, but that you will take the strides to learn to manage it. And so a week from today, on Thursday, I'm having a free online workshop that is live, and there is a replay because I know it might not be a great time for many of you. It's during the day. It's actually this time next Thursday. So I won't be here next Thursday, but I will be live on a workshop. It is absolutely free. It costs $0, and I am teaching my 3 most effective ways to manage your inner critic. So it's 3 additional tools that I have not talked about in this video that are going to be, I'm going to give you. Again, it's totally for free. There's also a like a workbook included. That's a downloadable PDF that you can type right on there. You can print it out if you want to. I love these workshops because if you listen to my podcast, it's a little bit different because in these live workshops, I'm actually live. And I am interacting with you, and I'll be on video a little bit, and I'll be showing you some slides, and it's just fun because I love to teach this, and I love to get real life answers from you as it goes, and I love having them. Rebecca, I hope you're there, and Kelly, hey, and Melissa, Suzanne, and I thank you for being here live. I'm going to pop that link in the comments. And this is actually a workshop that I've taught many times before. I've been teaching this topic for 6 years. I think I pretty much have it down to a science at this point. So I'm really, really happy to see many of you there. And let me jump over and see if there's any questions. So Melissa, you said, I'm not what I used to be, and you're feeling less than. Yeah, and so I'm gonna just touch on that for a second, Melissa, because I think that the whole aging topic, and maybe it's because I am in it too with you, but I think for women, our appearance is currency, and beauty is currency. Like, we live in America. That's the way that it is. Beauty is currency. And as we age, that starts to fade away, and therefore our currency starts to slip through our fingers. And I believe, as I go through this myself, that this is a grieving process that I don't think is talked a lot about. And I am the person that likes to talk about the things that nobody likes to talk about. And I do absolutely believe that it is something to be grieved as we age, and as our body just starts to not work as well as it used to anymore. And I think that it is, speaking of self-compassion, it is definitely something that I would love for you to work on in self-compassion as it relates to aging, because unfortunately that train just keeps on going. And, I think that I feel that in our culture that it is practically a crime to age at all, lest we age disgracefully, whatever that means, anyway, I'm going to stop right there because I can go on and on about that. And Suzanne, you said, learn to laugh at yourself and not take things so serious is so helpful. I love that attitude, Suzanne. Absolutely. And yeah, our inner critic is the one that takes things so seriously. Our inner critic is like doom and gloom. If you start that business, the economy could sink, and what if it all fails? If you start dating again, we've heard all these horror stories about online dating, and what if that happens? And yeah, it's like, well, what if, it might not work out, but is it really that big of a deal? I had a coach, and that's what she used to ask me all the time. What if it wasn't that big of a deal? Maybe that's something you could ask your inner critic. What if it wasn't that big of a deal? It's just another perspective. I'm not asking you to automatically jump over into that and believe aging isn't a big deal, to believe being in debt isn't a big deal, because that's like blasphemy for many people, right? But just what if you could try that on? What if you could just ask yourself the question, like, what if it wasn't that big of a deal? How would you feel differently if the topic that your inner critic gets on you about wasn't a big deal? So those are kind of like turtle steps over into the direction of learning to manage that inner critic. Thank you for saying that, Suzanne. That's incredibly, incredibly helpful. So again, I'm going to pop that link in the comment section, and I hope to see you there. Or you can just go over to, I have another easy way for you to sign up for it too. You can text the word gremlin, because I also refer to your inner critic as gremlin as well. You can text that to 444-999. Text the word gremlin to 444-999. You'll get signed up easy peasy for that. And it's over at yourkickasslife.com/register. And I hope I will see you there next Thursday at noon. And then the following Thursday, I will be back here with, I think, I might be hosting a retreat that week. So, but our next topic is on control. So if there's anybody out there that struggles with control, that's the video you're going to want to see. All right. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great rest of your Thursday, and I will see you out in cyberspace. Okay. Bye.